Ryan, and we're the Retro Sons.
Today we're going to be talking about a show we used to watch back in the 90s, Boy Meets World.
We'll be covering each season in a 7-part series.
Starting with Season 1. Season 1 ran from September 1993 to May of 1994, and it was 22 episodes. The entire series is available on Disney Plus if you want to watch it. I'm going to start off by talking about some of the characters. Corey Matthews was played by Ben Savage. He's the main character of the series, and he's the middle child, so he's often overlooked by his family. The show creators haven't yet figured out what they wanted to do with the characters. And in this season, Corey is a troublemaker in school, and in every episode, he gets in trouble, but by the end of it, he sees the error of his ways. He's a typical sitcom kid, pretty much.
Yeah.
Always getting into trouble.
Yeah, they just kind of threw all the normal things at him, like his love of sports.
Yeah.
He's so against girls and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's an 11-year-old boy in the first season, so he hasn't yet. He's still learning the ways of the world. Second is Eric, played by Will Friedle, and that's Corey's cooler older brother, who's always dating girls through the first season. And this character changes quite a bit by the end of the series. In the first season, he's kind of a cool older brother, but by the end, he changes a lot. He's, we're not going to get into him too much for the later seasons. We'll talk about that in those seasons, but...
Yeah, he's more normal, and he has a few dumb moments in his first season, but it's just...
Yeah, it's more for laughs than anything in this season. But kind of, again, the typical sitcom type character.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Dating from girl to girl, never has a serious relationship.
Yeah.
Alright. And third, I want to talk about George Feeney, played by William Daniels. It's Corey's 6th grade teacher, also Corey's next door neighbor. A longtime teacher who is set in his ways and most of the time helps Corey to solve his problems. It seems like he's involved in Corey's life a lot more than a 6th grade teacher would be, but he is also his neighbor, so maybe not, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really have too much to add right now.
Yeah. Again, they're trying to figure out where they wanted to go with the characters in this season. They haven't quite figured it out yet, which is the same with every first season of a show. They usually don't know where they want to go with the characters.
Right.
Next, I want to talk about Sean Hunter, played by Ryder Strong. He's Corey's best friend and also a troublemaker who has troubles at home. They didn't get much into it in season 1, but he becomes much more troublemaker later on in the show.
Right.
He has troubles at home, and they just started to show it in this one.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was one time when he broke the law, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this episode. But
yeah, and the same with Eric. He was kind of normal and just had like a few dumb moments here and there.
Yeah.
He wasn't like...
They haven't yet become the characters they're going to be later on, but they're starting to get there. They're working their way towards it.
Yeah, they're working on establishing the characters, and then they evolve and change them throughout the series. Alright,
next is Morgan, played by Lily Nixay, and she's Corey's younger sister. She has a very small role in this, and she's more for comic relief than anything in this season. But she was so young, and she really couldn't act that much, so we kind of just had her in small scenes from time to time.
Yeah, just one-liners, and sometimes she'd be there to show Corey's growth in a scene or an episode.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, but she had a very small role in this season.
Right.
Next is Amy Matthews and Alan Matthews, played by Betsy Randall and William Ross. They're Corey's mother and father. Understanding and patient, they let their kids make mistakes so they can learn from them. It's also implied in some episodes that Alan is kind of an angry side and is a yeller, but I never really see it in the show. Amy sometimes does have to take him aside and calm him down. It shows that they're learning and growing as parents just as much as their children are. So it's a little bit different than normal series or sitcoms. They're not like always right, and they don't like know exactly what to do all the time.
Right.
And it shows that. So it's kind of like they're more real than most sitcom parents.
Yeah, and at times it seems like Alan has to,
Alan's going through just as much trouble as Corey and his kids.
Right. And he's trying to be like the friend or something. It seems like more like the mom is the
rule
setter. Like they don't work together, and at times it seems
but
like when he got Corey up for the baseball game in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's just one example I can come up with off the top of my head.
Yeah, so they're a little bit different than normal sitcom parents, but at the same time, they still always do the right thing in the end. So they're a little bit different. Alright, the next character I want to talk about is Stuart Minkus, played by Lee Norris. He's a classmate of Corey's, and he's the smartest in the class, and kind of Corey's nemesis. He reminds me of a young version of Howard Wolowitz from The Big Bang Theory. He's smart and always pushing himself creepily onto Topanga.
Yeah, another character where he's all over the place, kind of like he's smart, and first I think he kind of started out just normal and everything, and he's kind of getting creepier and weirder as they're going along. And he had a group of friends to start with that he sat with, and now he just kind of floats. They just disappeared,
just there.
He just at their lunch table, he just kind of walks up to and stands at the edge, and then gives them something to talk about or talk to. Yeah.
And unlike Wolowitz, he's just after one girl. He's not after like anyone.
Right.
So, but still, it's kind of a creepy guy.
Right.
Creepy little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and lastly, I want to talk about Topanga Lawrence. She's played by Danielle Fishel, and she's a girl in Corey's class. She has hippie parents and is a strange but very caring person. In the first episode, she teaches Corey one of the best lessons in the entire season, I think. It doesn't matter what you look like, or all that matters is what... Sorry. It doesn't matter what you look like, all that matters is how you treat people. And I think that's a pretty good lesson for a funny little TV show.
Right.
And Topanga, she seems pretty smart, and she hasn't really come into herself or turned into who she's going to be in the series, like we said, but she's getting there. She's changed a little bit by the end of the season.
Yeah, at first it seemed like she wasn't going to be like a main character type.
Yeah, well, she wasn't going to. They didn't really have main characters down or established yet.
That's true, yeah. There's always the rotating group of friends.
Yeah.
Or extra third friend that sat with Sean and Corey at the lunch table and here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just one of them. Like, she wasn't even credited in the beginning.
Yeah, she was... First episode was the third episode. She wasn't in the first two. And then she was here and there through the season.
Right.
But not bad. So that's all the characters I want to talk about. He wants to make some points over here.
Yeah, just the other points of the show, like what we like about it, and like the structure of the season and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for us, it's very nostalgic. We always watched it in the 90s growing up, and it still has that, obviously, it still has that 90s feel, like the fashion.
On TGIF, which kids nowadays probably don't know what it was, but we tuned in every Friday for TGIF.
Yeah. And it was that, and Family Matters, and Step by Step, and all that.
Yeah, those were the three we watched.
Yeah, and they referenced those other ones on this show, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they'd mentioned Step by Step and Family Matters. So then, it was aimed towards younger viewers, obviously, because the main character was an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And
it was different for shows because it didn't follow the older son, it followed the younger or the middle child.
Yeah, that's true.
So it changed that up a little bit.
Yeah, and while it was aimed towards younger viewers, I think it can be enjoyed by anybody.
I mean, we still enjoy it now.
Yeah.
It might be just the nostalgia, but I think it's still a pretty good show.
I think our dad watched it with us in the 90s, and he seemed to enjoy it at the time. But yeah, especially if you grew up with it as a 90s kid, you're going to still enjoy it into your adulthood. And also in each episode, they found a way to deal with problems that a sixth grader might face, and they usually coincided with something he was learning in class, and he found a way to solve both problems.
Well, they're kind of sixth grade problems, but they're kind of adult problems too. Yeah. It's just problems everybody faces in life.
Yeah, but he can still, like, whatever they went over in class, it just, that problem in real life happened to pop up class, too. Yeah, right. And for the most part, it has a lighthearted tone, but it can deal with some more serious matters. Like in one episode, they dealt with racism. One of Eric's girlfriends was bullied for being an Asian girl.
And the topics do get more serious as they get older, but this was their first season, and they're pretty young in this one.
Right. And while they touch on serious issues, for the most part, they're just normal
And
6th grade issues.
Sean blew up a mailbox with an M80 or whatever. That was pretty serious.
That one, and he ran away from home.
Yeah.
So, but mostly they're just like comedic misunderstandings that Corey blows out of proportion, being a child.
11-year-old, yeah.
So, and then, like you said, some of the had the typical sitcom stuff like running away from home, but whereas in most sitcoms the parents, like the friend will come over to the main character's house and the parents won't know he's there. He'll be successfully hidden from them.
Yeah.
In this one, the parents instantly knew that Sean was there.
Yeah.
And the dad was like jumping on the bed that he's hiding under.
Yeah. Well, Corey's not the best at hiding things either.
Yeah. He had Eric fooled though. Yeah. He thought he was hiding a puppy. Even Morgan didn't think that.
Yeah. Yeah. She even
being naive.
Like Eric is kind of dumb at times in this season.
Times not as dumb as he will get though. But then overall, I just think that the characters, they seem like real people. Corey's parents, like we already talked about, they make mistakes and they're not always like...
Yeah, it's not like a regular sitcom where like the parents always know what's going on and they always do the right thing. Like they make mistakes too.
They don't always offer like
the best advice or guidance, so they let their kids learn.
Yeah.
Just like Mr. Feeney.
Yeah. And then there's Sean, the troublemaker, who, as we went over, he blew up a mailbox. And Corey, obviously, he's your typical 12th grader, which we've mentioned a few times already.
12-year-old 6th grader, not 12th grader.
Oh yeah, 12-year-old 6th grader. Oh, sorry. And then, like, he's into sports and he's not too interested in girls, but then Sean starts noticing girls and...
shortly after Corey does too. By the end of the season, they do.
Yeah, they're starting to grow. And then, while there's some real characters, there's others that kind of seem more like sitcom characters, like Mr. Feeney. He's portrayed as like a stern teacher who doesn't really want to get too involved with the students' personal lives and all that stuff, but he will. I know he's their neighbor, but...
Well, being a teacher, you really can't.
Yeah, that's true. But
play favoritism anything.
Yeah, that's true, but... in true sitcom fashion, he does kind of get involved in the main...
he's involved way more than he would be.
Yeah. And then, like we mentioned, Minkus, he doesn't seem like a real student that would have been in any of our classes anyway.
I don't remember any students like Minkus.
No, like the genius who's always got to be right and kind of crazy at times, and if he's not right, he like
goes way overboard sometimes. Yeah, when he's not right.
Like he goes like catatonic or whatever. He's like, oh, I have no reason to go on. And that time that he figured out time travel, trying to figure out that car wash question.
Yeah.
And then he kept traveling back through time a little bit. Yeah, and that's about all I have on the structure and all that on the show.
Yeah. For a first season of a show, it's really good, I think. It's better than most first seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some funny parts, and the music in the first season, the first episode, they play way too much.
Yeah, they really...
They just keep playing the beginning theme throughout the entire episode, basically.
Right.
But I think after that one, they got a little bit better.
A little bit, yeah. They kind of eased back on the music.
Yeah. And it's not the original, like, the original Boy Meets World theme is different than later seasons. I like the later season theme better. But
oh, yeah, me too.
It's not bad for a first season of a show. I think you guys should give it a watch if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And we'll see you for season 2, probably in about a month, and we'll see you in the future.
To talk more about the past.